yes, you can do farming as long as you're doing it using permaculture principles. There's an initiative that the UN is starting, which is called 100 Voices for Our Planet. I was one of those 100 voices.
Hello, and welcome to the Permaculture Vine Podcast, where we talk about permaculture education, careers, and business. I'm your host, Cormac Harkin, and today I welcome Guest Sonono to the show. Welcome, guest.
Thank you for having me, Cormac.
Would you like to give us a quick introduction, just 30-second elevator pitch, who you are, where you're from, what you're about?
Right. So I'm Guest Sonono. I'm a permaculture designer and educator and author. So I come originally from Zimbabwe, but at the moment I'm based in Northern Ireland. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here to share my passion, and hopefully some of the knowledge that I have can make an impact in someone's life.
Great stuff, guest. You're actually only a couple of hours from me. We have met once before when I was
Yeah,
working up the road, but we two busy schedules. It's hard to get a meet up even that close.
yeah.
So as I says, welcome. So you're from Zimbabwe. Do you want to tell us about, I take it you discovered permaculture there?
Yes.
And do you want to tell us about how you discovered it when you first heard of it?
Yes. So permaculture for me started around 2020. So initially, before I discovered permaculture, I was keeping chickens to just make ends meet. And then in the process of keeping these chickens, I somehow discovered that I'm actually really good at this. Then I started falling in love with the process, such that at some point my supplier, which was Hamara Foods at the time, they got really interested and keen on knowing how I keep my chickens because um, I had quite a lot of success with the batches that I had. So they requested to come to visit my place to see where I was keeping the chickens, just so they could, understand how I do things. So when they came, at that time I was living in my aunt's yard, which was about 1.5 acres big. So I was only utilizing not even a quarter of it. It was just too little. I was only focusing on chickens. So now the whole yard it was just grass. There was nothing that was happening. So they asked me, why don't you just do farming? Since you've got such a huge piece of land. This was something that had never really occurred to me before. And then I then discussed it with my aunt to say, I'm interested in doing farming here. Can I get a go ahead to start? That's when she told me that yes, you can do farming as long as you're doing it using permaculture principles. So that's when it sort of began for me. Then I went on the internet, I had to search what is this thing called permaculture. Took me a lot of time, but I think I had enough knowledge, knowledge that I gathered to know that this is something that somehow aligns with my passion. This is something that I'm going to love. And then, so I started by doing a permaculture design course, which was in Harare, the capital city in my country. So this was 2 weeks intensive. And then after that, there was still a lot of knowledge that I had gained, such that, you know, it was, to some extent, it was sort of overwhelming me. But then I think I can say that I had a starting point. So then when I went back home, it was towards the rainy season. So I decided, okay, let me start. So I just started by planting maize, sunflower, because I think the major concept that I got out of the permaculture course that I attended, simple things that I can actually take back home and practice was the thing of companion planting. So I went back, I started, and then I saw good results. And then later on, eventually, I then started to change my system, like how I was keeping chickens, because I used to keep them, yeah, I wouldn't say that was healthy. It was mainly just for business as usual, But then once I got that knowledge about permaculture, I somehow became conscious of how I was doing all my things, So I can say that was the beginning of permaculture for me.
Great stuff. So what did you change? What was the main things you adopted? Maybe giving them a bit more space to take it. And
Mhm.
is there anything major change then with keeping the chickens the permaculture way?
Yes. So I'll start with chickens. So the chickens, initially it was a system where chickens would come in as day-old chicks, and then I raised them for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then they're out to be sold. But then just by looking at that process on its own, that is not healthy, because for these chickens to grow within 6 weeks, obviously it means there's some chemicals or stuff that have been put to actually make them grow that fast. So first, I started by growing my own feed for the chickens, using the other space in the yard. So I had my maize, I had sunflower, I had pearl millet for these chickens. And then moving on to the chicken run itself, I then started to make small changes. Um, I put some nest boxes so that my chickens can lay eggs, because instead of keeping chickens only for 6 weeks, now I was keeping chickens for a much longer time, so that they live naturally, and then they can um you know the whole thing just becomes sustainable, because then if they lay eggs and I've got a rooster, that's going to allow them to then sit on those eggs for 21 days, and then you've got chicks, so the system becomes sustainable. It just expands naturally. So I then added the nest boxes. Then I subdivided my chicken run inside to have a room where if a chick is broody, they can sit on those eggs for 21 days without any interruptions from the bigger chickens. And then if that chick now has chicks, it still won't get any disturbance, because if these chickens are somehow mixed, the other chickens, they can get so bossy and they start pecking at these small chicks. And besides, the mother hens at that time, they'll be very protective of their chicks. So I had to subdivide that. And then I already mentioned about the feed. And then as time went on, I incorporated a fodder system where I could now then grow extra food for my chickens, food that is going to be very nutritious for them. One, two, it's very cost effective. It reduced a lot of my costs that would go into the feed. In as much as I was making the feed myself, but supplementing with the fodder somehow helped me, and then I also started giving them time to just go out during the day, free ranging, and then in this free ranging, there's so many benefits that also came with that.
Yeah, so it's good the way you're thinking. You took your initial systems, although not permaculture, and you've developed new systems, and you were willing to change and learn. Do you want to tell us about your PDC course in Harare? What was that like? A 2 week
Yes.
intensive.
So this PTC course in Harare, it was being taught at Fambizanai Permaculture Center. Now, this was, I wouldn't really say it was a pure permaculture course, but it was enough to get me started, because most of their concepts, some of them they've been changed so that they can meet the needs of the economy, because going full permaculture takes time, of which in Zimbabwe, the main challenge that we have there is economic challenges. So unfortunately, it's very difficult for people to practice permaculture fully. But anyway, we covered topics such as propagation, soil health, companion planting, like I said before, and then small animal systems. Yeah, like I said, it was just good to get me started. And then after about 2 months of doing that course, I then enrolled in Geoff Lawton's online permaculture course. Geoff Lawton, who is based in Australia, running the Permaculture Research Institute. Now, when I did that course, my knowledge somehow, got deepened. But anyway, I'm grateful for both, because if it wasn't for the initial permaculture course that I did in Harare, yeah, I don't think I would have even maybe discovered Geoff Lawton.
Yeah, same course as me. What year were you in?
That was 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the year before, 2019, but I didn't graduate
Wow.
to 2021.
Right.
So we graduated at the same time. How did you find the course?
So that course, it was really quite intensive, because Geoff really goes deep um, when he's explaining his things. But I think I really benefited a lot from taking that course, because there are very initial things that were covered. There things such as, like introduction to permaculture, where he covers ethics, he covers the principles, he talks about the design itself, and then he just makes us understand what's going on in the world, and how permaculture can help to regenerate our world. And then he also goes deep into topics such as trees, pattern understanding, water. So that course, I can say that now it really deepened my knowledge and my love for permaculture.
And I take it that again influenced your permaculture chickens on your own property.
Hmm.
And did you change
So
anything up or?
with the chickens in my property.
Yeah, after the Geoff Lawton's course, did you
Mhm.
take it that deep in your knowledge then of the chicken systems that he talks about the chicken run on steroids and things like that?
Yes,
Did
yes,
you implement any
absolutely.
of that?
Yeah, well, I did start to implement some of that. So the FOTA system that I talked about before, I can't really say I started it immediately after doing the course that I did in Harare. It took maybe a couple of months before I actually started implementing it, and that was now after taking the course with Geoff Lawton, because he talks about things like the chicken tractor and all of that. So this might sound a bit weird, but I did have an idea of a chicken system that I wanted to implement in my yard there, and I had a name for it. I used to call it the Chicken City, whereby I was going to just fence a really huge piece of land outside, which would be inside, it would be having the chicken coop, the free ranging area, and a chicken garden. So this was just to give them a beautiful system that would be having all these different elements connected to each other, such that on any given day, these chickens can leave their chicken coop, go into the free ranging area, and then in the free ranging area, my plan was to implement like sort of a large scale fodder system, whereby I can have maybe different batches of fodder being produced at different times, such that I can have one fodder box which is ready maybe today, and then the next one will be ready after 3 4 days, the next one 3 4 days, so that there's continuity and there's also diversity, you know. And then the chicken garden, here we're talking of the chickens being beneficial to the system, um, by maybe scratching, leaving their droppings, which are very high in nitrogen, you know, and we know that nitrogen is one of the major elements for plant growth. And then so chickens, they were really going to help amplify my system holistically, not just the chicken system, but I think my system at large. Because also, like when these chickens maybe they've become many, the plan was to actually have another chicken run where I've got layers and somehow open up business opportunities, you know. But then now there's that element of sustainability. I won't have to buy any chickens from outside. These chickens will be coming from the broody chicken run, where I've got chickens who are laying eggs and sitting on them for 21 days. Then we've got chicks, and then the other chicken run will be for keeping these hens, which will just be laying. eggs, and then these eggs can be sold like as organic eggs. That's a channel for business. And then as for the roosters, that will be coming from the chicks, because obviously roosters are also going to be coming. For roosters, I was going to just sell them, um, you know, just sell them maybe when they're now about 16 weeks old or up to 20 weeks old as live chickens, because for your chicken run, you only need one rooster for every 10 hens anyway. So yeah, roosters for me is really just going to be for people who want to add roosters in their system, or people who want to eat chickens, organic chickens.
Yeah, for me, I got a couple of chicks, and then it turned out I got two hens and one rooster, and at 4 a.m. in the morning, I woke up and the chicken was freaking cock-a-doodle away, and it was like the
Yeah,
neighbors,
yeah.
the neighbors and everything were looking out, and it had to go.
Yeah, so
So
yeah, that's another thing
uh,
to consider with these chickens, because around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., they crow, making that noise. It's one of their ways of marking territory and all of that. But yeah, it might be wise to check in with the neighbors before, because
yeah, I
some people, yeah.
I did see a Geoff Lawton video where the rooster was actually put in a soundproof cage. So and
Hmm.
it was let out later on the day, so it didn't cause too much noise. Not a cage, it was like a chicken house.
Oh
So that
yeah,
was a better
yeah.
idea. So after your Jeff's PDC, where did you move to then? Did you further your education, or do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, so after completing the PTC with Geoff, I graduated around December 2021. And then January 2022, um, I got a job to work for like Food Forest Abundance, which is a permaculture design company based in the US. And that's why I met you actually. Um,
I started the
yeah.
same month.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, interesting. Yeah, so that was really the beginning of my permaculture career. And then as time went on, I decided that no, I need to deepen my studies, because I want to do more with this. So I then took up a permaculture teaching course with Morag. I actually got offered a scholarship that was around September. And then yeah, so I did that course for free, and then I graduated in around June 2023. Yes. And then the other thing that I got involved in around May 2022, I became a teaching assistant for Geoff Lawton's online permaculture course, of which I'm currently still a teaching assistant. So this teaching assistant role really really helped in deepening even my own knowledge, because like I said before, that Geoff Lawton's course is really it's really an extensive course. Like the knowledge, some things you won't understand on the first go, So now taking that course again, but now as a teaching assistant, it sort of helped me to further my knowledge and my education, you know. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
at the moment, I'm doing a diploma in applied permaculture design with Permaculture Association in the UK.
Yeah. So my there's a lot of no, I'm not I never I never had the calling to be a teacher.
Yeah,
But I like the way you're keeping yourself busy there anyway. Uh
yeah,
I like the way that the being the teaching assistant, the TA is helping you uh helping your knowledge as well. Do you want to tell us about Morag Gamble's teaching course?
yeah. So Morag Gamble's teaching course, you take that course with the different lenses, because it's basically taking a permaculture design course all over again, but then it's taught in a different way. It's taught like at the back of your mind, you'll be knowing that at the end of this, I'm going to be an educator. So that course, I think going all over those things again from a different perspective, it really also helped me, And then, yeah, the last bit of that course, you just taught how to basically teach permaculture professionally, you know. And and permaculture is taught in many ways. You can teach it using um, a permaculture course, which is how a lot of people are learning. But you can teach it through workshops as well. You can teach it through books, of which for me myself, before I moved here in Northern Ireland, I did hold a few workshops back home, to just raise awareness of permaculture and just introduce a sustainable way for people to grow their own food. And also, this was my way of somehow giving back to the youth. I'm quite passionate mostly about the youth because I am a youth myself, but I believe that the best empowerment that I got personally, it was to learn permaculture. So because of that, I've been driven to somehow share that knowledge, especially with the youths and the communities back in Zimbabwe. So I was involved in a few projects. There's this sustainable gardening project that we did at a youth center, a local youth center in Zimbabwe. You know, and then also I had the idea of writing a book, like a handbook, through my experience, with chickens. And this was, yeah, this was when I was still taking the course, like Morag course. So that course also helped me to just find other ways of teaching this permaculture knowledge. So I did write a permaculture. I did write a handbook on how to raise permaculture chickens, and I believe all of these ideas they came up through that course that I took with Morag.
Yeah, it's great to come away with that course with something like a book, and you can get that book on the Vine Permaculture website, and the links in the description. Where else can you get it? Amazon.
Yes, it's now on Amazon.
Yeah, so we'll put the two links in the description below for that. Uh, you're not a man who likes to sit still, are you? A lot of stuff going on there. So right, so you got more gamels. Can you tell me more about the workshops? Did you go back to Zimbabwe or were these online workshops?
So these workshops, I used to teach them on the ground when I was still in Zimbabwe. So I'll tell you about one that's sort of still going, and so this gardening project that we did in the local youth center. It's called Mzilikazi Youth Center, which is in my hometown, Blawayo. So this was a project that I collaborated on with Organic Roots, which is a company based in the US, and Mamira Foundation. So how I actually got to start this project, there's a guy who owns Organic Roots. He was coming down in Zimbabwe, for 2 weeks to implement a project, and then he contacted me saying, so I found you online. I see you're doing permaculture. I'm looking for collaboration, and then he told me all about the project. So what the project was all about, it was just to build a sustainable garden at the youth center, to just sort of bring food to the youths, to raise awareness of permaculture, and to just keep the youth away from habits, things such as smoking, taking drugs, and all that. So what we did at the initial phase, we have two phases for that project, of which so far only phase one has been installed. So phase one included putting in food forest. Food forest where we've got vegetables, we've got herbs, got fruit trees, and then phase two would be installing a greenhouse where instead of going out to buy plants, we're going to make the whole thing sustainable and grow our own plants. And also, this greenhouse is also going to be like a source of income for the youths, where they can grow their own plants and sell to people, They can grow special plants that are not really known by a lot of people. And then this will also be an opportunity to then now, share some of the knowledge that we imparted to them. So that was the project. And then after implementing this project was implemented in 2 weeks, with the youths. After that, we did a workshop where we taught the youths how to take care of the garden, how to love the garden, you know. And so far, I think it was really a good thing. We've got good results from that. We've got we saw a good engagement with the youth, and working together was quite good.
Yeah, it's definitely good to collaborate. And I've seen the project. It looks excellent. Again, we'll put the link. Well, it's on your
Yeah,
page on Vine. So if you go to vinepermaculture.com, I think it's Guest Sonono.
yeah,
That video's embedded in there. And your tour of your Zimbabwe place as well is embedded in there too. So you're doing workshops. I was going to ask this, but it wouldn't be fair. Who's better, Morag or Geoff? I'll not make you answer that.
yeah.
So we'll move on to the. So you're now doing a diploma as well. Do
Yes,
you want to talk
yes,
about that?
yeah. The diploma, the diploma has been good so far because there's so many things that you learn that you don't learn in a typical PTC, you know, because in the diploma there, you're learning how to actually design, come up with a design using certain frameworks, following certain frameworks, and yeah, the diploma for me, I think it's going to be extremely helpful, for my career development because of just how the process of coming up with a design, you know, and these designs it's not only limited to just garden designs. Anything can really be a design. Even this talk here that we're doing can be a design. That's what I've learned in the diploma. So yeah, I think the diploma is something that I'm quite hopeful to finish, and see what opportunities lie after that.
Yeah, and that's with the UK Permaculture Association.
Yes,
And you're doing a talk for them soon, aren't you? I seen.
yes. I'm doing a campfire session, but then it's still in process. Things are still being planned out.
Yeah,
But
and
since we're talking about talks or workshops, I forgot to mention there when I was talking about workshops back home. I do have a workshop that's coming up on the 30th of May online, where I'll be talking about growing fodder for goats.
for goats.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can put that link as well. There'll be a lot of links here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And so we worked at FFA together. I think we done 2 designs together. Was it 3?
yeah, 2, 3.
Yeah. And how did you find them professional designs? How do you find that process?
Yeah, it was FFA. It was quite cool, also considering um when I actually got that opportunity. I was just fresh out of graduation, you know, still just finding ways of how I can earn money through this, And then yeah, FFA was really um it was eye-opening to be like a part of FFA, to just go through all that design process, how to meet with clients, things to talk about, that whole process. And then at FFA, I was also doing content creation. I remember I created some content for a few topics, to be taught to our clients and also our FFA installers throughout. And then yeah, through FFA, I made that my food forest story, where I was just basically talking about the projects that I was involved in back home. These projects that included rainwater harvesting, gardening, chickens, um, Yeah.
And then how did you learn digital design? Did you just teach yourself?
Well, digital design, for me, growing up, I've always been a person who has been fascinated by computers because the environment that I grew up in, I had a brother who was into computers. So I started learning computers from a very young age, So now, after after completing the permaculture course and after now being employed by FFA, I saw a few designs like digital designs, and then it was a bit challenging at first, because yeah, obviously there's a lot of work that goes in, to make a digital design. But I think now at this stage where I am, like my skills when it comes to digital design, I think they've greatly improved through through practice and just exposure to more of these opportunities, you know.
And
And
what?
then also,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and also it's something that also enhanced my designing skills. Like I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned before that I'm also doing a diploma in professional garden design. So yeah, I think doing that course with permaculture knowledge has really been nice, And then also from that diploma there, there's a lot of things to consider, when doing a design. Although their designs, they're only just limited to gardens, But now, because permaculture is very broad, I've taken some of the knowledge that I've learned from the professional garden design diploma and just combined it with what I know in permaculture. And I think my designs have greatly improved.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them. Looking forward to seeing your
Yeah.
portfolio as well. So what doing designs for FFA, do you Adobe, is it Illustrator or Affinity or both?
um, it's Adobe Illustrator. So Adobe Illustrator, that was the first software that I used for designing. And yeah, for me it was pretty simple and straightforward. But now I've also learned a bit of AutoCAD. I'm also now using AutoCAD, and then there's this software called Garden Planner, you know. So sometimes I just combine um these softwares. For AutoCAD, I use it mostly for site surveys, and then for Adobe Illustrator, because for me it's very much flexible. I use it for now the actual designs, and then I combine that one with Garden Planner, because after drawing up the design, I then put it up on Garden Planner. Garden Planner has many different plants, different objects, that you just add onto the design.
Yeah, I used to use Garden Planner. I don't anymore, and I just tend to do it all on Affinity. And we have a course as well, pdcdpro.com. If anyone's
Mhm.
interested in learning how to digitally design, if you've just graduated, or if you're a seasoned pro and you do hand drawings, we're teaching digital design, get you started, get your base map done. Then we'll teach you how to build a website, and then use the plant database Gilda, and then that'll get you started in your career as well. So that's pdcdpro.com. Hopefully, Guest will do some TA work for us.
Yeah, of course, I'm around.
And mark your assessments.
Yeah.
Because that is to pass that course and get certified, you have to produce a professional digital design, and it must meet the standards of a professional design as you would serve the customer. So that includes getting your pollinating pairs, zone appropriate plants, things like that. So that'll all be assessed. Um, Guess you're a busy man. You're doing two diplomas, working full time, doing workshops. What's the plan for the future, or or just get all that work done and then see?
Yeah, so yeah, I know that most of the things that I'm involved in at the moment is mostly just studies, but I do have a few interesting things that are coming up. So at work, where I work full time, I work in a facility where we look after after elders with learning disabilities. So I saw an opportunity there, to just create like a therapeutic garden, which can be a space that is really helpful for the elders. So that's a project that I'm going to be implementing soon. And then there's a workshop that I'm going to be teaching with you very soon, end of this month, on chickens and gardening. And then I think for the future, I'm really I'm really open-minded, and I know that there's going to be great things ahead. But my involvement for the future, I think it's going to heavily rely on educating people, advocating for permaculture, and obviously gardening. I think these are the things that I want to pursue. So at the moment, I can't really say for sure what's going to open up, but I can say that for sure. I know the future is quite bright, you know.
Yeah,
So
I'm
for
looking
now,
for.
it's really just a matter of putting in the work, just keep on developing myself, keep on developing myself.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that workshop. So, you're going to cover the chickens, and then
Yes.
uh, we're going to I'll have a deep bedding chicken system hopefully by that stage, and then I'm going to show how
Mhm.
you compost that and mix it with other things. Uh,
Yes.
so hopefully we'll get some videos of that up.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
for the YouTubes. So did I see something posted online about the UN? You were doing something.
Oh, the UN. Yeah. So at the end of 2023, around December, I got featured to be part of. There's an initiative that the UN is starting, which is called 100 Voices for Our Planet. So I was one of those 100 voices for our planet, and it's basically where the work that I've done is getting recognition, and yeah, I could be participating at the UN General Assembly Summit around September of 24 this year. So yeah, that's something that I'm also working on just preparation to get that started. But with that UN opportunity, I really hope to reach a lot of people, a lot of influential people that can actually help in making the change that we need for our planet. So I think my main target audience would be things like the policymakers, environmentalists, education practitioners, and yeah, I think that is going to be maybe quite a good opportunity for permaculture itself.
Well, no better man to represent us. uh, yes, it's been very impressive listening. Hard work, getting your head down, getting yourself educated, and very bright future ahead. I'm looking forward to seeing it play out. And just
Yeah.
remember us when you're famous.
Listen to this guy. Of course, man.
uh, Guess, have you any final thoughts for us before we wrap this up?
um, well, maybe just some advice for anyone who is maybe at the starting point, of this permaculture journey. I think what I would like to say is that listen, I know it's not an easy it's not an easy thing it's not an easy journey to begin, especially when you're only starting. There's so many things that you won't be understanding, but my advice would be just get started. No matter how small it is, no matter how small it may be. With permaculture, it's something that takes time. you know so you just have to get started, get your hands dirty, embrace the process. In the end, it's going to pay out. It's a seed that you plant. Because for me personally, some of these things, like this UN opportunity that we're talking about. This is something that I started well back then, like when I was still in Zimbabwe. I've been here for at least a year, but I can say that when I was doing those projects there back home, maybe some things were not so clear, how the future is going to be like, but it's because of that foundation that I laid back there, you know, that has led me here. So yeah, that would be my advice for anyone who's at their starting point.
Yes, that's great advice. And thank you very much. Guys, that's been Guest Sonono on the Permaculture Vine podcast. And I'll see you all next week. Thanks, guest.
Thank you for having me.